Greetings and good evening, friends. I wanted to tell you a story tonight about a rocket scientist. A man named Jack Marvel Whiteside Parsons. A man of mystery and intrigue. A man of vision. Some would say dangerous visions. A man whose ideas created the world as we now know it. But the looming question is, what world did these ideas come from?
Jack Marvel Whiteside Parsons was born in Los Angeles on October 2nd, 1914. On the very day Charles Taze Russell of the Watchtower Society prophesied the fall of Babylon and the end of the Gentile times. Jack grew up a lonely boy. He had very few friends and always was out of place and misunderstood. He spent most of his time alone, reading books like King Arthur and 1001 Arabian Nights. He also loved reading pulp magazines like Amazing Stories. His favorite author was Jules Verne, and he loved reading stories of science fiction and time travel. Jack was terribly bullied and disliked by his classmates. In junior high and high school, he spent most of his time hiding in the library, reading every book he could, and teaching himself about science and chemistry. His big break came when his work on the school newspaper won an award for literary excellence, an achievement noticed by one of his teachers who had briefly worked at Caltech. This teacher encouraged him to keep going, keep learning, and don't give up. Parsons wanted to go to college, but he knew his family couldn't afford it. And so he came up with a plan. He would start working after school and on weekends at a local powder factory to save up money for college. At the factory, he also got access to chemicals and other supplies, where he began experimenting with homemade model rockets. After high school, Jack attended community college, and then enrolled at Stanford with money he had saved up, but unfortunately, tuition raised, and he simply couldn't afford it. But Jack formulated another plan. He began attending lectures given by teachers and professors. And after the lectures, he would go up and introduce himself. He would ask them intriguing questions and begin lengthy conversations. He then would ask if he could continue corresponding with them by letter or phone. Jack started asking if he could work as their assistant, and he was willing to take any job no matter how small. During the 1930s, he began entry-level work to help scientists working on solid fuel rockets. Jack was extremely successful in this endeavor and quickly became indisposable. His ideas were fresh and innovative. He had flashes of brilliance and contributed to major advancements in the field, and by the 1940s was associated with the space and aeronautics industry. In the 1940s, he helped form the Jet Propulsion Laboratory with other rocket engineers, some of whom were members of the occult. As a young man, Jack was introduced to Aleister Crowley, who bona fide him into certain circles of high society. He also struck up a tumultuous friendship with science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard. Jack was a smash hit with everyone he met. His success in rockets and explosives earned him a celebrity status in the world of science and popular culture. His association with Howard Hughes made him something of a celebrity. The shy and awkward boy had grown to be a dashing and charming man about Los Angeles, and he was often featured in magazine stories, pictured in newspapers with Hollywood starlets. He became a colleague of Hughes, and the two worked together, inventing valuable technologies used by the U.S. Allies in World War II. Shortly after the war, he met a young woman named Marjorie, and the two had an immediate affinity. They both loved poetry and literature. They spent long hours together, having conversations that went into the late hours of the night. Marjorie believed that thoughts are created by energy, and energy is inseparable from thought. The world is not the physical stuff around us, but the energy contained within. Jack and Marjorie together studied alchemy and the metaphysical. After World War II, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory was assigned to work on top-secret government projects at Area 51, collaborating with former Nazi scientists brought to the American desert in Operation Paperclip, including Werner von Braun, who told Jack that German advancements in the field of rocketry were not only due to scientific technology, but magic. Enochian magic. Desperate to find success, Jack made the dangerous decision to go even deeper into the occult, and began working on magic spells and holding regular rituals, culminating in an event that may have changed UFO history. During an invocation to the goddess Babylon, he created a stargate by opening a hole in the sky in which something flew through, something unknown from another dimension. Many ufologists believe Jack's rituals at Area 51 coincide with the beginning of the UFO era over America. Jack told Marjorie that he had lost control of the experiment. He remembered prophecies, Bible prophecies, of fearful signs in the sky during the last days, stars falling from heaven. He feared he may have had a hand in these portents. Dark times were ahead for Jack. In the early 1950s, he was investigated by the House Committee on Un-American Activities. He was accused of being a communist sympathizer because he had briefly studied Marxism while enrolled at Stanford. His reputation was further damaged by an increasingly insane Howard Hughes, who had grown jealous of him and accused him of being a Soviet spy. His name was placed on a list of those suspected of espionage, and he was banned from ever again working in the aviation industry. The Jet Propulsion Laboratory he helped found disavowed him. He also learned that his former best friend, L. Ron Hubbard, had stolen his entire life savings, and he was now penniless. Blacklisted from his former means of employment, Jack had to make ends meet by becoming a pyrotechnics advisor and set designer on low-budget B-movies. He told friends that he was being followed by FBI agents and went to Mexico for several weeks to help them build a powder factory. He was then offered a possible job at a laboratory in Israel. Marjorie pleaded with him to take the job because she wanted to start over and have a normal home with a family. Jack agreed, and in June of 1952 returned briefly to Pasadena to gather a few things. On June 17, 1952, there was a massive explosion at Jack's home laboratory. When the police arrived, they found it completely destroyed. Jack Parsons was dead. The explosion was determined to be an accident, but those who knew Jack found it implausible that the master rocketeer would have been careless with his own explosives. It is now widely believed that Parsons was assassinated by persons unknown. In the long years following Jack's death, Marjorie lived alone. She wanted to become an artist. She taught herself to paint and draw, and did a series of work depicting her and Jack's life together as Bible characters. The last of this series is a famous work called Dark Angel, which portrayed Jack as the angel of death. It iconicized him in esoteric culture and is valued to be in the millions of dollars. Marjorie became a fixture of the LA art community and even taught classes well into her old age. Shortly before her death, an interviewer asked her if she had any regrets. She said that once she loved someone so much that she never loved again.
Sometimes when I think of Jack, I feel sad. But then other times I think, what if? What if he cheated death somehow? What if he had an escape plan? Maybe he's working for the CIA somewhere. Or maybe, just maybe, he knew that his destiny would lie in a different world. Have a great night, everyone.